Before we get into the how of networking, we want to talk a little bit about how our thinking of networking. And it sounds like, first of all, I want to congratulate everybody for showing up to this call today. We know that this is not everybody's favorite subject, and often networking brings up a lot of terrible thoughts. People say, I hate networking. But we really want to talk to you about, for a moment, to reframe how you might be thinking about networking, especially if it's a negative for you. A lot of people, when we come to this part of the coaching with my clients, it conjures up these like really negative images of you go into like a hotel ballroom and there's a million people there with their name tags, and you walk in the room and you just like shudder because you don't even want to be there. And I think a lot of people already shared with us, they feel like they're selling themselves. They feel that whole used car salesman. They don't feel like it's authentic. What I would love to do is invite you to think differently about networking. It's not necessarily about selling yourself. So let's just be open-minded and let's think a little bit differently. But first, we're going to get started with some key statistics. So the next slide. So here's what we know. As many as 80% of all jobs are filled through referral. It's critically important. The networking is a critical tool in your toolbox. The vast majority of jobs aren't even published. So a lot of people who are already networking or connected into an organization somehow through some conversations, they're going to have their foot in the door because they already know about those roles. One of the things that we do know is that on average, there's 118 applications per job. That's an average. Where I used to work at the Natural Resources Defense Council, there was usually 200 or 300 people that would apply for roles. And here's what we know, that the people who have been networking with that organization are going to have a leg up. Even if their resume isn't as strong, that referral is going to get them an opportunity likely for an interview. And there's going to be only, on average, 4 interviews per role. There can be obviously more than 4, but there's a very small percentage of people who actually get that opportunity to have the interview. So here's what I tell my clients. I look at this very much as a math problem. If you know that most jobs are secured through networking, you have two candidates, okay? Candidate number 1, who spends all their time behind their computer applying for cold jobs, and a little bit of time networking. And then you have the other candidate who spends at least 50% of their time networking. And we're going to talk about what networking is, but they're actually taking actions every day, every week around networking. Of those 2 clients, the one that is actually spending at least half of their time networking is more likely statistically to get a job. It's just that simple. So look at it as a math problem, and as something that's a tool that you really want to pick up. So the next slide. So let's start with one simple premise. You might be thinking, I'm not even networking right now. Well, you are. You're always networking. You're making connections. I think I saw several people who wrote the word connections, and that's exactly right. Networking is connections. Take the word I'm selling myself out of the word networking. It's connections. That's the main thing you want to think about. Every day you're making them. And some of these examples are less apt for the pandemic, but just bear with me. In the line at the grocery store, at your kid's school, actually, again, the opportunities are everywhere. You want to talk to people, tell them who you are, tell them what you want to do. You might be surprised at the results. When people hear networking, it doesn't mean that you need to have a really close connection with someone. It could be someone who, it can be through an introduction by someone who knows you well, but also through a simple brief email exchange or a phone conversation. Networking isn't even necessarily about promoting yourself, at least not in the way you think. I like to think about networking just in terms of being curious, asking for advice, or even just looking for a common ground, like a common experience. So it's not about reaching out to somebody and saying, I need to tell you all about my strengths. That's not how it works. You just want to find connection. And so you want to think, how do I make connections with people? You would lean on the same skills as you would to connect with anybody else.